Dad, if I jump, will you finally forgive yourself? The girl balanced on the railing above the storm-lit river, one sneaker dangling, while the single father who had come to end his own night instead reached out to stop hers. Neither of them knew the bridge had been waiting 28 years for this exact collision of two broken souls. Tap subscribe now because the next twist will not arrive tomorrow. It begins the instant you turn the page. The wind tore at the river like it wanted to flay the water, and the Aurora street bridge answered with a metallic groan that almost sounded human. Jonah Hale tightened his numb fingers around the suicide note folded in his pocket. The paper already sodden from the rain and from the tears he had not let his 6-year-old son, Leo, see at dinner. 3 months behind on rent, fired from the docks, and tonight the letter from the bank had come. Foreclosure on the little matchbox house that still smelled of his late wife's vanilla candles. No life insurance, no family left, no plan except the one that had lured him here. Step up, lean over, become a statistic that wouldn't even make the local paper. But when he reached the apex of the bridge, he saw he wasn't alone. A girl, no, practically a woman, stood on the outside of the railing, hoodie dark with rain, arms stretched out like wings, palms open to the lightning that spiderwebbed the sky. She couldn't have been more than 19, yet her eyes carried the exhausted vacancy Jonah recognized from the mirror. If she jumped, the current would swallow her before the 911 dispatcher finished asking for cross streets. Jonah's own despair buckled under a surge of protective instinct. "Don't jump," he called, voice cracking. He had come to die, but something older than grief, maybe the phantom reflex of fatherhood, made him step closer. The girl didn't flinch, only tilted her head as if she'd been expecting him. "Why not?" she asked, so softly the storm almost stole it. "Because tonight is not the night the river gets to decide who matters," Jonah said, tasting the absurdity of the sentence even as it left his mouth. He reached, caught the sleeve of her hoodie, and pulled. She resisted for a heartbeat surprisingly strong, then let go, folding into him like a marionette whose strings had been cut. They collapsed together on the wet asphalt, two strangers drenched in each other's pain. Between gasps, the girl whispered, "You smell like cinnamon." It was the scent of the cheap soap Leo loved, the only kind Jonah could still afford. The trivial detail cracked something open in his chest. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated, then said, "Nova. Just Nova." Headlights flared behind them, an approaching car. Nova flinched. "Please, don't let them take me to a hospital. They'll find me." "Who?" She only shook her head, terror blooming wide in her eyes. Jonah made a decision that felt like stepping off a second, invisible bridge. He helped Nova to her feet. "My truck's parked on the service road. Come home with me one night, we'll figure the rest out tomorrow." He expected refusal, but Nova studied his face as though reading subtitles in a foreign movie, then nodded once. The drive to the sagging rental on Willow Lane took 7 minutes and lasted 7 eternities. Leo was asleep on the couch, clutching a flashlight like a teddy bear, TV flickering a late-night fishing show. Jonah carried him to the bedroom, returned to find Nova standing in the doorway, dripping, staring at the crayon drawings taped to the walls. "Yours?" she asked. "My son's, Leo." Something softened in Nova's expression, a thaw he hadn't earned yet. Jonah handed her his late wife's robe, the lavender one he hadn't washed because it still carried her perfume. Nova disappeared into the bathroom. While the shower hissed, Jonah checked the locks twice. Unsettled by the way Nova had glanced at the street as though headlights were hunting dogs. When she emerged, robe knotted around her small frame, the resemblance punched him in the sternum. Same high cheekbones. Same birthmark like a comet beneath the left eye. Elena had that mark. But Elena had died in childbirth 6 years ago, and this girl was at least 19. Impossible. Nova noticed his stare and touched the birthmark self-consciously. "Genetics," she said, a half-smile that felt rehearsed. "You okay?" Jonah managed a nod, but the coincidence nested in his mind like a bad omen. He offered her the couch, but she asked to stay in the hallway where she could see Leo's door. That request chilled him more than the rain. Still, exhaustion overruled suspicion, and Jonah retreated to his own room, leaving the bedroom door ajar because Leo hated the dark. At 3:07 a.m., Jonah jerked awake to the sound of humming soft, off-key, achingly familiar. Elena used to hum that lullaby to his belly when Leo was still kicking inside her. Heart hammering, Jonah padded to the living room. Nova knelt beside Leo's small figure, stroking his hair while singing the same song. Moonlight through the blinds painted silver bars across them both. "What are you doing?" Jonah whispered. Nova startled, guilt flashing across her face. "He had a nightmare," she said. "I heard him from the hallway." Jonah's skin prickled. Leo hadn't had a nightmare in months, and the kid slept like a rock through thunderstorms. Before Jonah could press, Nova's phone, an old cracked flip model, buzzed on the coffee table. She lunged for it, but Jonah's reflexes were faster. The caller ID read, "Dr. M. Voss." Nova's face drained of color. "Give it back," she hissed. Jonah hit answer instead. A woman's voice, calm and clinical. "Nova, you've been off-grid for 6 hours. Protocol requires you return to the facility tonight or the board will escalate retrieval. We know about the bridge incident. Your father is worried sick." The word father struck Jonah like a slap. Nova snatched the phone and snapped it shut, breathing hard. "Who is Dr. Voss?" Jonah demanded. Nova's answer was a cracked whisper. "The woman who told me my real mother died giving birth to me in a government medical experiment, and that the man who saved me tonight might be the only person alive who can prove it." The room tilted. Jonah gripped the doorframe. What experiment? Nova's eyes flared with violet lightning from the window. They called it Project Aurora. 28 years ago, a fertility clinic harvested eggs from 9 women, one of them your wife, Elena Hale. You were told she miscarried the first pregnancy, remember? She didn't. I was born 19 years ago from her embryo, carried by a surrogate, raised in a lab. They've been tracking my vitals since birth. Tonight I ran. Jonah's legs buckled. He sat heavily on the carpet. The universe felt suddenly too small, the walls breathing. Nova continued, voice trembling. I found Elena's name in a locked file labeled Parental Candidates Deceased. I came to this town to see where I began. When I saw the bridge, I thought, maybe I could end there instead. From the bedroom, Leo cried out, a single word that froze both adults. Mommy? Nova's gaze snapped toward the door, tears spilling. Jonah saw it then, Elena's eyes staring back at him through a younger face. The impossible made flesh, somewhere outside. A black SUV idled at the curb, headlights dimmed. Nova's phone buzzed again, this time a text. She showed Jonah the screen. We're outside. 2 minutes, or we come in. Jonah's heart pounded against the cage of his ribs, a beast waking. He looked at Nova, his daughter, the secret he'd never been told, and then at the hallway leading to his sleeping son. The one miracle he'd managed to keep alive. 2 children, 2 futures hanging by the same frayed thread. He stood, decision crystallizing like frost. They're not taking you, he said, voice raw. Not tonight, not ever. Nova stared, hope and terror warring in her eyes. But they have papers. Guns, then, we'll need better weapons, Jonah said. Already moving toward the closet where his old baseball bat leaned beside a dusty box Elena had labeled for Leo when he's older. Inside the box, a sealed envelope marked with Elena's handwriting. Open only if she finds you. Jonah slit the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside lay a flash drive and a single Polaroid. Elena, pregnant. Standing beside a younger Dr. Voss in front of a facility sign reading Aurora Fertility Research. On the back of the photo, scrawled in Elena's looping script, they lied. Save her, outside. Car doors slammed. Jonah's pulse became a war drum. He turned to Nova, saw her swallow hard. Ready to meet your little brother? He asked. Nova's tears glittered like shattered stars as she nodded. Jonah slipped the flash drive into his pocket, gripped the bat, and moved toward the front door just as the first knock-sharp, official, inevitable shook the frame, each thud syncing with Jonah's heartbeat. Leo stumbled out of the bedroom, rubbing his eyes, spotted Nova, and froze. Mommy, he whispered again, small voice cracking. Nova knelt, arms open. Leo ran to her like magnet to metal, burying his face in the lavender robe. The world telescoped. A grown woman and a tiny boy, strangers by minutes, siblings by blood. Clinging in the hallway of a house already half lost. Jonah hefted the bat. Stay behind me. He cracked the door open 2 inches. A woman in a charcoal trench coat stood under the porch light. Dr. Voss. Silver hair cropped short, eyes cold as surgical steel. 2 men flanked her, silhouettes bulky with concealed armor. Mr. Hale, Voss greeted, voice honey over scalpels. Return what doesn't belong to you. She's my daughter, Jonah said, the words still tasting miraculous. Voss smiled thinly. She's government property. $28 million of research walks out the door. We notice. Jonah slammed the door, threw the deadbolt, and dragged the couch across the entrance. Nova had Leo curled against her chest, whispering, "I've got you." Jonah yanked the curtains shut. Headlights painted the living room in slats of white and shadow. He pulled out the flash drive. "Elena left this. We need to see what's on it." Nova pointed to an ancient laptop on the kitchen counter, Jonah's from his dockyard days. He jammed the drive in. The screen flickered to life. A single video file. Elena, 9 months pregnant, sitting on an examination table. Behind her, younger Voss adjusted ultrasound equipment. Elena looked straight into the camera. "Jonah, if you're watching, I failed to stop them. Project Aurora is gene therapy disguised as fertility help. They want to breed children with accelerated healing, perfect immune systems, living biobanks. Nova is the only viable subject who also carries the empathy marker. They'll dissect her to replicate it. The code to shut the project down is her mitochondrial sequence, Nova Starlight, Elena Sunrise. Use it, love her enough for both of us." The video ended. Jonah's breath came in ragged bursts. Nova touched the screen, tracing Elena's face. "Starlight," she murmured. "My middle name." Outside, a splintering crash, the front door bowed inward. Jonah grabbed Leo. Nova snatched the laptop. They bolted down the hallway toward the back door, but another figure blocked it, one of Voss's men. Jonah swung the bat. The man deflected, shoved Jonah into the wall. Photos crashed to the floor, glass exploding. Nova stepped between them, arms raised. "Stop!" Her voice cracked with authority no lab should have been able to program. The guard hesitated. Nova locked eyes with him. "You were at the bridge tonight," she said. "You didn't want to chase me then? Look at this child. Do you want his blood on your hands too?" The guard's jaw clenched, memory flickering. He stepped aside. 2 minutes, he muttered. "Then I radio them." They burst into the night, rain slashing sideways. Jonah's truck sat 30 feet away, but the SUV blocked it. Instead, Nova pointed to a rusted bicycle leaning against the neighbor's fence. "Leo can't ride," Jonah protested. "I can," Nova said. She mounted. Leo perched on the handlebars, arms around her neck. Jonah ran alongside, pushing off behind them. Shouts erupted. Flashlight beams sliced the dark. They cut through backyards, dogs barking, fences splintering. Nova seemed to navigate by instinct or pre-programmed map leading them to the old train yard at the edge of town. Inside a derelict boxcar, they collapsed, panting. Leo whimpered. Nova rocked him, humming the lullaby again. Jonah watched, heart fracturing and healing simultaneously. Dawn leaked gray through bullet holes. Jonah powered the laptop with the last of its battery. Nova typed her mitochondrial sequence Starlight Sunrise into an encrypted folder labeled termination key. A prompt appeared. Activate global shutdown, Y or N. Nova looked at Jonah. If I press yes, the lab loses funding. The project dies. But every other child in the trials, there are 12, will be relocated. We may never find them. Jonah's throat burned. Press it. Save the ones we can. We'll fight for the rest together. Nova hit Y. Across the country, servers wiped themselves. Files corrupted with a virus Elena had hidden inside Nova's own cells, an elegant revenge 19 years in the making. Headlights bounced across the train yard, multiple vehicles. Voss had found them. Jonah stood, bat cracked but still solid. Nova kissed Leo's forehead, stood beside Jonah. We end this here, she said. But the vehicles screeched to a halt and outpoured not agents, but reporters, live streaming crews. A local SWAT team with federal warrants. An anonymous tip had exposed Project Aurora at dawn. Jonah recognized the guard from the house standing beside OS Marshall, face grim but resolute. Sometimes conscience took longer to boot than protocol, but it ran deeper once it did. Voss emerged from the last SUV, hands raised, trench coat flapping like a surrender flag. Cameras captured her perp walk. Nova stepped into the floodlights, hoodie abandoned, birthmark blazing for the world to see. She lifted Leo onto her hip, his small arms around her neck. Jonah stood behind them, bat lowered, tears mixing with rain. Nobody noticed anymore. A reporter thrust a microphone forward. Miss, what do you want to say? Nova's voice rang clear. My name is Nova Hale. I was born in a lab, but I was conceived in love. Tonight, love came back for me. She turned to Jonah. And this is my father. The crowd parted as they walked toward the horizon where the sun finally tore through storm clouds, painting the river gold no longer a place to die, but a mirror for second chances. Epilogue: 1 year lit Earth House on Willow Lane had a new roof, paint the color of sunrise. Inside, Leo chased a golden retriever puppy while Nova taught him to read. Jonah flipped pancakes, humming off-key. On the wall hung Elena's robe, framed beside the Polaroid and a newspaper headline. Project Aurora shut down. Whistleblower Nova Hale honored by Congress. Every Friday night, they drove to the bridge not to jump, but to drop flowers into the water for the ones who hadn't been reached in time. And every time, Leo would hold Nova's hand and whisper, "Thank you for not flying away." Nova would answer, "Thank you for catching me." And high above, the Aurora Street Bridge gleamed under strings of new lights. No longer groaning but singing an iron lullaby for every lost soul who might one day choose to walk back toward love instead of away from it. Subscribe to this channel because miracles have sequels, and the next story begins with the click of a bell.